This year, the Tokyo color prints, the Nishikie, seem to me of unusual interest. They reproduce, or almost reproduce, the color charm of the early broadsides, and they show a marked improvement in line drawing. Certainly one could not wish for anything prettier than the best prints of the present season. My latest purchase has been a set of weird studies, spectres of all kinds known to the Far East, including many varieties not yet discovered in the West. Some are extremely unpleasant, but a few are really charming. Here, for example, is a delicious thing by Chikanobu, just published and for sale at the remarkable price of 3 sen. Can you guess what it represents? Yes, a girl, but what kind of girl? Study it a little. Very lovely, is she not? With that shy sweetness in her downcast gaze, that light and dainty grace as of a resting butterfly? No, she is not some Psyche of the most eastern East, in the sense that you mean, but she is a soul. Observe that the cherry flowers falling from the branch above are passing through her form. See also the folds of her robe, below melting into blue faint mist. How delicate and vapory the whole thing is! It gives you the feeling of spring, and all those fairy colors are the colors of the Japanese spring morning. No, she is not the personification of any season. Rather, she is a dream, such a dream as might haunt the slumbers of Far Eastern youth. But the artist did not intend for her to represent a dream. You cannot guess? Well, she is a tree spirit, the spirit of the cherry tree. Only in the twilight of morning or of evening she appears, gliding about her tree, and whoever sees her must love her. But if approached, she vanishes back into the trunk, like a vapor absorbed. There is a legend of one tree spirit who loved a man, and even gave him a son, but such conduct was quite at variance with the shy habits of her race. You ask, what is the use of drawing the impossible? Your asking proves that you do not feel the charm of this vision of youth, this dream of spring. I hold that the impossible bears a much closer relation to fact than does most of what we call the real and the commonplace. The impossible may not be naked truth, but I think that it is usually truth, masked and veiled perhaps, but eternal. Now to me this Japanese dream is true at least as human love is. Considered even as a ghost it is true. Whoever pretends not to believe in ghosts of any sort lies to his own heart. Every man is haunted by ghosts, and this color print reminds me of a ghost whom we all know, though most of us, poets accepted, are unwilling to confess the acquaintance. Perhaps, for it happens to some of us, you might have seen this haunter in dreams of the night even during childhood. Then, of course, you could not know the beautiful shape bending above your rest. Possibly you thought her to be an angel, or the soul of a dead sister. But in waking life we first become aware of her presence, about the time when boyhood begins to ripen into youth. This first of her apparitions is a shock of ecstasy, a breathless delight, but the wonder and the pleasure are quickly followed by a sense of sadness inexpressible, totally unlike any sadness ever felt before. Though in her gaze there is only caress, and on her lips the most exquisite of smiles. And you cannot imagine the reason of that feeling until you have learned who she is, which is not an easy thing to learn. Only a moment she remains, but during that luminous moment all the tides of your being set and surge to her with a longing for which there is no such word, and then suddenly she is not, and you find that the sun is gloomed, and the colors of the world turn grey. Thereafter enchantment remains between you and all that you loved before, persons or places or things. None of them will ever seem again so near and dear as in other days. Often she will return. Once that you have seen her, she will never cease to visit you. And this haunting, ineffably sweet, inexplicably sad, may fill you with rash desire to wander over the world in search of somebody like her. But however long and far you wander, never will you find that somebody. Later you may learn to fear her visits, because of the pain they bring, the strange pain that you cannot understand. But the breadth of zones and seas cannot divide you from her, walls of iron cannot exclude her, soundless and subtle as a shudder of ether is the motion of her. Ancient her beauty is the heart of man, yet ever waxing fairer, forever remaining young. Mortals wither in time, as leaves in the frost of autumn, but time only brightens the glow and the bloom of her endless youth. All men have loved her, all must continue to love her, but none shall touch with his lips even the hem of her garment. All men adore her, yet all she deceives, and many are the ways of her deception. Most often she lures her lover into the presence of some earthly maid, and blends herself incomprehensibly with the body of that maid, and works such sudden glamour that the human gaze becomes divine, that the human limbs shine through her raiment. But presently the luminous haunter detaches herself from the mortal, and leaves her duped to wonder at the mockery of sense. No man can describe her, though nearly all men have sometime tried to do so. Pictured she cannot be, since her beauty itself is as ceaseless becoming, multitude to infinitude, and tremulous with perpetual quickening, as with flowing of light. There is a story indeed that thousands of years ago some marvelous sculptor was able to fix in stone a single remembrance of her, but this doing became for many the cause of sorrow supreme, and the gods decreed, out of compassion, that to no other mortal should ever be given power to work the like wonder. In these years we can worship only, we cannot betray. But who is she? What is she? Ha! That is what I wanted you to ask. Well, she has never had a name, but I shall call her a tree spirit. The Japanese say that you can exorcise a tree spirit, if you are cruel enough to do it, simply by cutting down a tree. But you cannot exorcise the spirit of whom I speak, nor ever cut down her tree. For her tree is a measureless, timeless, billion-branching tree of life, even the world tree, Yggdrasil, whose roots are the night and death, whose head is above the gods. Seek to woo her, and she is echo. Seek to clasp her, and she is shadow. But her smile will haunt you into the hour of disillusion and beyond, through numerous lives to come. And never will you return her smile, never, because of that which it awakens within you, the pain that you cannot understand. And never, never shall you win to her, because she is the phantom light of long-expired suns, because she was shaped by the beating of infinite millions of hearts that are dust, because her witchery was made in the endless ebb and flow of the visions and hopes of youth, through countless forgotten cycles of your own incalculable past.